And just like that, 2xKO is now permanently up, and there is a lot that could be said about it. But for now, we are here for the lore. Because despite 2xKO being a fighting game, with fighting games not really being known for deep stories, at least not ones told directly in the game, I was curious to see just how well will this game tackle the universe of League of Legends. Since just like all the other games Riot has, this one also has narrative direction. And well, after some digging around, I am pleased to say, this game highlights some really cool pieces of League's universe. But it does it in its own way, be it good or bad. For example, when it comes to the bad, finding the actual lore is really difficult. You'll see what I mean by this in a second. But thankfully, every time this game reflects lore directly, it is always great. And so now, let's dive into how exactly is 2xKO falling into the canonical universe. So first of all, as I mentioned, every champion has their own lore in the menus. After going to the champions, you can see that down there, that's the bio. And so of course, that's where the story is. Psych! I have no idea why it is set up like that, but the bio is just a little bit of the story, and it's mostly explaining what the champion does in the game. I guess that technically falls under the category of a bio in a fighting game. Maybe it should be called a description, because using Riot's terminology, bio has always been the lore of the champion. And so now you may be wondering, well, if it is not under bio, where is it? Well, you see, to find the champion's lore, you have to go to their skins, then look at a skin, and then there is a little pop-up that says lore with the tiniest font imaginable. Now, the reason why it is probably set up like this is that when these champions get skins in the future, those skins may be from alternative skin lines, and so they may have their own lore. Other than that, I have no idea why the lore is under the skins, hidden under 3 menus. Look, in League, we have always wanted the deep lore directly in the client. Here, we are so close to it. Just why? But ironically, that is the same question you might be asking yourself when you behold the segue to today's sponsor. Have you ever had the urge to sage the hydra of knowledge that's been lingering inside you? Well, at the very least, you can slay it with the help of today's sponsor. Boot.dev might be just about the most interesting way to learn any kind of coding. Are you tired of following YouTube tutorials that force feed you? How about turning learning into an interesting minigame? That is what Boot.dev does. From the very beginning, any kind of a lesson is immediately turned into an RPG quest on an epic journey. From looting chests to slaying beasts, and that's all while unlocking achievements, leveling up and completing quests. It combines the fun of playing video games with actually gaining new skills. And in this case, Boot.dev might be just about the best way to learn backend development. It doesn't matter if you'd like to learn Python, Go, JavaScript or C. Everything is possible here without getting bored. The best part is, in this glorious industry, which all of us are part of, backend development still stays among the highest paying jobs. Meaning that with just a bit of courage, you can put these new skills towards your new future. On average, it takes about 12 months to get the proper knowledge and experience for a coding language, all of which you can start working towards right now in their free tutorial. So go to boot.dev and try the courses for free. After which you can use my code Necrit to get 25% off if you choose the annual plan. So go, slay some hydras, acquire knowledge, and become a developer. Now back to some video game lore. Anyway, just so we have the full context of the champions that are set up in 2xKO, let's go through those actual stories. Starting with Darius. There is no greater symbol of Noxian might than Darius, the nation's most feared and battle-hardened leader. Rising from humble origins to become the Hand of Noxus, he cleaves through the Empire's enemies and raises the true strength of his allies. Knowing that he never doubts his cause and never hesitates once his axe is raised, those who stand against the commander of the Trifarian Legion can expect no mercy. Now, because this bio mentions the Trifarian Legion and his past, that means that this Darius is pretty much the modern version of him. Which means that his story right here is far after Arcane happened. Which also means expect a lot of references to the Noxian invasion of Ionia and stuff like that. Next up we have the lore of Ahri. innately connected to the magic of the spirit realm. Ari is a powerful Vastaya who can manipulate her foes' emotions and drain their essence, receiving flashes of their memory and insight. Through these experiences, Ari came to see the humanity within herself and the essence that binds all living things. Now she travels the world in search of her ancestors, replacing stolen memories with those of her own making. Now, as you'll see from the interactions later, this version of Ari should be the one that happens after the Ruined King. But here the bio mentions that she is searching for her ancestors. And well, if you finish the Ruined King game, you would learn that she's seemingly kinda done with that chapter.
You, Ari? Where will you go?
I may return to the Shadow Isles, see what more I can learn of my ancestors. I will try to walk in their footsteps and hopefully leave some of my own.
She is still curious about the Vasani, which is her tribe, but she also kinda accepted the fate that most of them are just gone. One thing is certain though, this bio heavily references the Ruined King, because that's where her story was really established as her dealing with memories and thoughts and a lot of spirit magic. In the past, her base bio in League only teased it. So it's cool to see that 2XKO is embracing the modern version of Ari. And speaking of modern version, next up is Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is a friendly automaton from Zone, originally built to dispose of hazardous waste. However, they found this primary purpose too restricting and they modified their own form to better serve the fragile units of the Undercity. Blitzcrank selflessly uses their strength and durability to protect others, extending a helpful metal fist or burst of energy to subdue any troublemakers. So yes, unfortunately, the bio doesn't tell us who made Blitzcrank, since in the original lore, Victor made him. But that is no longer the case after Arcane. But it is cool to see that he still has the same purpose. Just like in his original lore, he was there to help Zonites and also clean up a lot of the toxic waste. But here it is teasing that Blitzcrank started as something smaller, and then it upgraded its own form, likely with the scrap. So the good old Blitzcrank is still there. But we are still waiting to see who made him. Now next, after this, we have Braum. Blessed with massive biceps and even bigger heart, Braum is a beloved hero of the Freljord. Every mead hall north of Frostheld toasts his legendary strength. He is said to have felled a forest of oaks in a single night, and punched the entire mountain into rubble. With his shield, an enchanted vault door forged in ages past, Braum roams the frozen north as a cheerful protector, helping the vulnerable as he works towards the dreams of a peaceful Freljord. Now here, it is kinda sad to see how vague the bio is, because all of this is referencing real things that Braum did. He did punch an entire forest down, though according to the story he did it with his fists. He did also punch through a mountain, but that is how he got the vault door. And yes, the vault door was forged in ages past by the demigod Ornn. I get that Riot can't really reference all of those in this story because Ornn isn't even in the game, so why mention his name? But it does feel kinda naked without the details. And speaking of being without details, next up there is Echo, a prodigy from the rough streets of Zone. Echo manipulates time to spin any situation to his advantage. Using his own invention, the Z-Drive, he explores the branching possibilities of reality. As well as experimenting with multidimensional probability, Echo spends his days running wild with the other lost children of Zone. Though he revels in this freedom, when there's a threat to his friends, he'll endure anything to defend them. To the unknowing observer, Echo accomplishes the impossible with ease time and time again. Now unfortunately, this doesn't really give us any context for his story, because this should be the Echo that we know from Arcane, but as you'll see in his voice lines, it doesn't feel like that. He is still kinda closer to the League of Legends version, which is a little bit sad. But then, there is Illaoi. Illaoi's powerful physique is dwarfed only by her indomitable faith. As the prophet of the Great Kraken, she uses a huge golden idol to rip her foes' spirits from their bodies and shatter their perception of reality. All who challenge the truth-bearer of Nagakeboros soon discover Illaoi never battles alone. The god of the Serpent Isles fights by her side. Here, it is kinda sad that they don't even mention the name Nagakeboros which is the name of the god, because that might be the coolest part of Illaoi's lore. The fact that her god is all about everything staying in motion, and if you stagnate, you might as well just die because you are useless to the god. You know, that's the cool part of her lore. But again, it doesn't really have any of the details, so you kinda feel naked. And again, speaking of which, there is also Jinx, an unhinged and impulsive criminal from the Undercity. Jinx buries her tragic past in the chaos she spreads across Piltover and Zaun. She uses her arsenal of DIY weapons to exhilarating effect, unleashing torrents of colorful explosions and gunfire, inspiring the disenfranchised to rebellion with the gleeful mayhem Jinx leaves in her wake. Once again, the issue is that most people know Jinx from Arcane, meaning that people know about her backstory, and this doesn't really do that justice. Again, I get it, it is a fighting game, who really cares about lore, but they could have mentioned something from her tragic past. Or perhaps they could have at least referenced that her sister is Vi. I wonder if this is the Arcane effect, where everyone wants to avoid Arcane because they don't want to screw anything up. And speaking of which, next up there is Vi! Raised on the mean streets of Zaun, Vi is a hot-headed, impulsive and fearsome woman with very little respect for authority. She has always been a true survivor, both from her youthful troublemaking topside and an unfairly long stint in Stillwater Prison. Now working with the Piltover enforcers to keep the peace instead of breaking it, she wields mighty hextech gauntlets that can punch through walls and criminals with equal ease. Yet again, sure, the story works, but people already know her deal from Arcane. Which, by the way, yes, this story confirms that this is all happening after Arcane, with Arcane being canon. That's why the Stillwater Prison is mentioned here. So yes, this is still the Vi you know from the show. And so lastly, there is also Yasuo. Yasuo is an agile swordsman seeking absolution for his troubled past. As a proud young Ionian, he was falsely accused of murdering his master. After escaping in an attempt to clear his own name, he was forced to slay his own brother, Yone, in self-defense. Though the true killer of his master was later revealed, Yasuo is unable to forgive himself for all that he has done. Now he wanders the land with only the wind to guide his blade. Now this is interesting because it actually drops Yone's name, even though Yone is not in the game. Why is that not the case in the other bios? On top of this, it is a real shame that this bio does not reference the Noxian invasion, because as you'll see, even the voice lines are teasing it. So it may be just my opinion, but these bios are still a little bit too vague. They work for the purpose that they were given, but they could be a lot cooler. And so, overall, as I mentioned, all of these lore bits are fine, but the really cool lore that is surrounding 2XKO happens around the gameplay. Sometimes it is part of combat, and I am not just talking about all the abilities being canonical in the universe. For example, Illaoi's super actually evokes Nagake Boros. The eye you can see in the ultimate is actually the god. And there are also some other special cases. For example, when Echo uses his super, if someone interrupts him, he actually recalls and pulls it off anyway. No other character does this in this game. Also, during Ahri's super, you can see the expressions of the other champions which she charms. And those also hide some lore. For example, Jinx doesn't appear to be charmed at all, she is just waiting for the kiss. This is possibly a reference to her old lore. Because way back in the day, when she was just totally crazy and Yordles were hiding their real appearance, because of her madness, she was immune to all kinds of mind games. Which means she was able to see directly through the Yordle illusions. I wonder if this is referencing that, because I like the idea that Jinx is not charmed. She just doesn't care and she's tanking it. After this, you can see that Vi is not being herself. The same goes for Darius, Braum, Illaoi and Echo. It is interesting to see that Blitzcrank also has a reaction. I mean, hey, if he's based on Hextech, which is related to some kind of magic, with Ahri also dealing with spirit magic, sure, maybe she would be able to manipulate him. But let's be honest, this is just here for gameplay purposes. The one that really matters, though, is Yasuo's reaction. Why does he look like this, you may ask? Well, this is the outcome of the Ruined King game. If you have played it, you would know that Ari and Yasuo kinda got together. Nothing ever happened between them, but they were always teasing each other. And you'll see that it also continues in 2XKO. Because next we are diving into the voice lines. What is really unfortunate here is that most people just straight up skip them when they get into the game. But yes, outside of some champions having generic lines they just say, when they are paired with specific other champions, they have special interactions. And so far, it seems like only Twisted managed to data mine them directly from the game. And so if you wanna go through all the lines that were found so far, that's where you can find them. And so, going through some of the most interesting ones. When Darius talks to Ari, it is cool to see that he references having a Vastaya under his command.
It appears I have a Vastaya under my command.
You can tell yourself that.
Now, if you've read the lore, you would know that Vastaya fighting for Noxus is nothing new. There were many of them referenced in the stories of the Sisterhood of War, but perhaps none ever fought for Darius directly. Next up we have some lines with Echo and Ari, where Ari is able to read Echo's mind, and so she knows about his time thing.
It's okay, Echo. I won't tell anyone about your secret time weapon.
There's no time weapon. I just do everything perfectly.
In fact, Echo also references this in his own line.
Is it true you can tell what I'm thinking all the time?
You don't need to worry, child. Those thoughts are perfectly normal.
And again, here I have to mention, it is kinda weird to hear Echo's voice from Arcane, with him having the cheery character from League. This is a combination I did not think we would get, because by now everyone is just used to the grumpy version of Arcane Echo. Also, in these voice lines, Ari gave herself a new interesting title.
Miss, what exactly are you?
I am Ninetails, the drinker of dreams.
I'll be honest, the Drinker of Dreams sounds really cool.
Is that Hextech?
Oh, it's nothing. Just a mysterious Vasani secret.
Now, in case you forgot, Vasani is Ari's tribe, which is the same tribe that invented the Mists of the Blessed Isles, with the entire tribe also mastering spirit magic. That is why Ari has the Foxfire and the mind reading. And finally, it is just really cool to hear how these two could have been great friends if they canonically met, I guess.
You two are in trouble now. I brought a real live Vasani mage.
That's right. Which one of you picked a fight with my new friend, Echo?
After which, we have Yasuo and Ari. And yes, just have a listen. There is a lot of teasing going on.
Hasagi!
Stop it. I'm the one who says that.
We work well together. Like two...
Like two sides of the same blade.
Here it is also cool to hear that she senses regret in Yasuo.
Yasuo, what is this regret inside you?
Do we have to talk about that? Let's just fight.
This could be due to many things, but I'm gonna assume he regrets killing his own brother, or possibly leaving Ionia behind. Then there are also some really cool interactions between Blitzcrank and Braum. First of all, they both want to protect each other.
Greetings, shirtless northern man. I will protect you.
What? No, machine man. Brom protects you.
But I also like how Braum is calling Blitzcrank a god because he can make lightning.
You make lightning. You are a god, yes?
No. I am a golem who generates static with hex-powered steam.
By this, he's referencing the demigod Volibear, the Storm Incarnate. Also, there is this awesome line referencing how machines would freeze in Freljord and how people die in Zaun.
You know, in the Freljord, machines do not do so well.
That is fair. In the chem wastes, humans dissolve.
Next, we also have interactions between Blitzcrank and Echo. Here, Blitzcrank mostly wants to learn about trash talking. Get it?
Fleshling youth. Teach me to communicate in trash talk.
Easy. Just point at them and yell stuff.
And he also calls the Z-Drive on Echo's back a small golem.
That golem on your back, is it friendly?
Not a golem. It's a... You know what? Mind your business.
But then we get one of my favorites, which is unexpected. And that is Yasuo and Darius.
What kind of warrior uses a shield of wind? The kind of warrior who doesn't get hit.
Ionians, and their lack of armor.
Noxians, and their lack of mobility.
It is cool to see how both of these are indirectly referencing the events of the Noxian invasion. Because remember, the Noxians and Ionians were at war. And so the two just really hate each other as a result.
Never thought I'd have an Ionian in my ranks.
A common foe can unite anyone.
Follow orders, Ionian, and victory is ours.
You should know I'm not much of a follower.
And I have to say, it is really awesome to hear both of them just being super passive-aggressive. Now, unfortunately, we are currently missing the voice lines for Jinx and Illaoi. This could be for many reasons, including the fact that perhaps the champions are using code names, which people have to find in the files. But from the responses we got, Echo has some lines against Jinx, and pretty much all of them are about Jinx blowing everything up, and Echo being careful that she doesn't blow up his inventions.
No, Jinx. You can't draw a face on my Z drive. Careful! If you shoot my Z drive, the universe implodes!
Also, he has this one line which may be a callback to Arcane, though it is slightly odd.
Me with Jinx? Definitely my most interesting timeline.
Now, thankfully, the lines between Echo and Vi do Arcane a little bit more justice.
Let's see if I can malleate those rigid time particles.
What the hell are you talking about? Were those words?
Now, these feel like the characters we know.
Vi, you're alright for an enforcer.
And you're alright for a little show-off punk.
Also, Vi honors her past with Jinx, and so even though we don't have Jinx's lines, you will hear some references, including Powder.
I know we've had our troubles, but I got your back, Powder. Jinx, I swear, if you throw one of those damn monkeys at me...
And lastly, again, while we are missing Illaoi's voice lines, we do have Brom's replies to that. And so when Illaoi asks where did Brom get his door, he replies,
From its hinges, when I ripped it off them.
you see, technically he got the door from the mountain that collapsed, so he didn't really rip them off, I guess. Also, Illaoi asks if Brom has any plans after the battle, to which he replies,
Yes, so many plans. Why you ask?
this, of course, is a reference to that one famous scene from Ruined King, where Illaoi and Brom almost canonically banged, except Brom ended up vomiting all over the place. And so in short, yes, Illaoi is into Brom, and he doesn't even know it. And that is where 2XKO's lore currently stands. I'll be honest, there is a lot of potential that the team is working with, especially around the voice lines and the abilities and the little details every now and then. That's when the story really pops off. When it comes to the lore that is readable in the game, yeah, that one could be better. It's not that it is wrong or anything like that, it's just that there is a lot more lore behind all the champions included here. So I think they could have expanded it a little bit. Now, when it comes to the roster itself, there is one more thing that kinda piqued my interest. You see, we already talked about all the champions that are in the game. When Vi was revealed, people were not that happy because it seemed to be the safest roster imaginable. And then Blitzcrank came out, and that gave us a little bit more spice. But my question is, why did you shove so many Arcane characters into this game while ignoring the base stories that were set up by the show? Look, I get that Jinx had troubled past, but you could have at least referenced Vander.